Welcome to Stop My Crisis. I'm your host, Vivian Gaspar. And crisis is not just financial. However, many emotional types of crisis ends up yielding financial crisis as well. And if you're a parent, you understand that what you do with your children now shapes them for what type of adults they'll be in the future. And don't you want your children to become independent and really not need you any longer when they're adults? That has to start now while they're young. And that way it won't lead to future crises for you and them. So what I have right now is a really big treat. I have a fantastic guest here. Alena Chapman is actually a best-selling author, a mentor, and a speaker. And she understands how difficult it can be to be a single parent. Although she's helped thousands of adults break out of self-imposed prisons, she has won rave reviews for her advice and blogging on parenting as a single parent herself. And she is talking with us today on the secret having children grow with self-worth and confidence, not just for now, but completely into the future as adults for them.
Hello, Vivian. Angelina Jolie, we all know her. She has been saying, and still says, I struggle with low self-esteem every day.
Someone that wildly successful, and she's a humanitarian, doesn't she work with the UN? How can someone who does so much for so many others, and obviously she loves being a mother, I believe she has 6 children?
I think 6 or 8.
How can she
somewhere.
struggle?
Yeah.
Give or take. It's not 1 or 2. So if she has struggled with self-esteem, would she subconsciously impose that upon her children?
Yes.
Or anyone, not picking on Angelina Jolie, but it's a concern.
It is.
So if you demonstrate lower self-worth or esteem in yourself, could you naturally be passing that on to your children simply because they imitate you?
You do. And we tend to, whatever's going on inside of us, or those old beliefs that we were raised with that maybe gave us the low self-esteem, without even knowing it, we pass it on to our children.
And then it just perpetuates a cycle. There's so many things that are cycles, and this is just another one of them. Abuse could be a cycle, but perpetuating low self-worth and low self-esteem is also another cycle. And we want to break these types of damaging cycles that you pass on.
Yes.
So how, as we as parents would know if we're suffering with low self-esteem so we don't have our children mirroring that behavior?
Yes.
How do we recognize that in ourselves?
First of all, when you're trying something new, or you're just trying to stretch outside that normal box that you live in, and all of a sudden you hear the voices, listen to them. And I'm not talking, I'm talking about the voices that say, you must be crazy. You can't do that.
Don't listen to those voices, right?
No, stop and listen to them for a minute and say, wait a minute, where did that come from? And just say, wait, is that true or not? And am I living my life by those voices? That's the next thing, because sometimes we do. We will stop dead in our tracks when we hear those voices.
Shouldn't you fight to press upon your brain and think consciously to have a positive thought or 3 to overcompensate for that negative little voice in your head?
Yes, you take that, you listen to it and you think, wait a minute, that's not true. And there's affirmations too that you can say over and over that help to bring it into the subconscious mind and actually combat that old belief that you hear, that thing you were learning when you were little, that you weren't worth it, or you are crazy for trying something new. You can start to squish those down by building up the type of esteem you want to have.
Even if it's your parents or friends doing it to you now, this doesn't stop, I think. For example, if you want to do something that's outside of the norm as a career, something a little bit more bold and untraditional. And obviously, when you want to do a career of any kind, you need to invest in yourself, get some coaching, get some mentoring, and of course, things that you do. But education of any kind, it costs money. It's an investment in yourself.
It is.
So when your loved ones or friends tell you, are you insane for investing money to do that? So then I think when you may judge yourself by others' impression of you, what do you do when that happens? But you know it's your passion. You know you want to do this.
You have to believe that what we think is our passion, what we have as our talent, and what we really makes our heart sing is the right thing to do. When I started writing my book, for instance, I went running home. I had decided to write this book. I had already been doing the notes, okay? But now I was putting it in book form. And I went home and I called somebody who was very near and dear to my heart. And I said, I'm going to write a book. And the first word that I heard was, are you crazy? Have you ever written a book before?
Wait, are you crazy? That's 3 words.
Yeah,
you heard that.
I know.
And trust me, I've been a non-traditionalist all my life, so I understand. I actually started college at 14. Who does that?
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know.
there's just all kinds of things.
It took
so
me 20 minutes. 20 minutes to talk him down.
You shouldn't be in that position. So
Nobody
it's one of the things
should
you
be.
could do, since we have to absorb information that others in our lives put upon us. They're giving us perhaps their own insecurities.
That's what it is.
Maybe they're jealous to a degree. Maybe that person wishes they had the audacity and the bravery to write their own book.
Subconsciously, this was a person, and it always is. It's people who are scared of stretching, past what they call their world. And I'm daring to go past that, which is what we want our children to be able to do. But yet there's so many people who are scared to, that they try to hold you back. So you have to believe in yourself. And if you tell them, you have to stay strong and say, you know what, maybe it's not right for them. And they can't see themselves doing it, but I can see myself doing it.
That's what you have to remember.
Do. You have to.
I understand.
Believe in yourself, and you will transfer that onto your kids.
So give me real quick 3 ways that you can foster self-esteem, good, positive self-esteem in your children.
One way is, first of all, allow your children to be able to defend themselves.
How do you mean defend yourselves? Emotionally or physically?
No. When you are going to cast a punishment, for instance, maybe they did something, allow them to bring their case to you. And
don't be so maybe universally totalitarian in your commands.
No, maybe they didn't get an A on their test. Instead of just saying, okay, that's horrible, why didn't you get an A? Da, 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 da. Instead of stop and say, okay, why didn't you get that A? And really listen. Don't listen critically, just listen. And if they're presenting a good case, then say, okay, I understand, let's fix that, and stop it there.
Great. What's another one? I want to get more of this.
Okay, I know you do. And then another thing is, don't allow them to talk down about themselves. Say,
Excellent.
wait, what do you mean you're fat? You're not fat, And girls going into high school, that's the hardest time. So reassure them about their bodies, reassure them about who they are.
And maybe as their mothers, we're women, we should be careful of our language about ourselves so they don't hear that.
Totally.
Catch myself. Never say I'm fat in front of my daughter, or at least never think it at last at all. And so she doesn't start to mirror that unknowingly.
But it would be even better if we changed how we thought about ourselves, because it shows. And then we don't have to catch ourselves, because we're really stopping that thinking we're fat, and it helps them. So it starts with us. It always starts with us.
What's the third one?
And then a third one is to encourage them. Encourage them to try things new. Encourage them to go out for something that they might say, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Give it a shot.
Fantastic. I know that we run out of time, but as a parent, if you don't feel good about yourself, and how can we give something to children if we don't have ourselves? And you were just mentioning that before. So I know that's one aspect, but I think that it's not stopping as a teenager or young adult or tween or college age. Somebody at any age can have self-worth and self-esteem issues, and it could be stopping our own progress. And let's face it, I've read studies where if you have low self-worth, maybe it hinders your ability to make an income, which affects your ability to care for your family. So can you give one quick tip that will help all people of any age group to increase their self-worth going forward?
If you truly want to feel good about where you're going in your life, and maybe you're trying to climb the corporate ladder, you have to do the self-study. I hate to tell you, but you have to do the self-study. You have to do the affirmations that will build the strong self-esteem and get rid of the low self-esteem. But it takes work. And I'd love to give you a magic pill and say, here it is, but it takes time.
The most important job you can have as a parent, once you become a parent, is to really truly help your child prepare to be a successful and productive and independent adult. And you cannot help them foster that if they don't have a very strong feeling of self-worth and self-esteem for themselves going forward, regardless of where they are right now. I don't care if they're 5, 3, or 23. Help them foster it wherever they are right now.